What's good, folks? It is Nightmare Frame here with a Monster Hunter Wilds video. I know, different from the usual. And I'm going to be talking about the lance, one of my favorite weapons in the game, aside from the charge blade. So here I'd like to discuss the different techs and nuances of this weapon, because it is a very strong weapon, and a weapon that you could accidentally get way too comfortable with, because it allows you to be very, very aggressive. And one of my favorite weapons to go in blind to any monster hunt and just pretty much learn their movesets, and from then on completely ignore all their mechanics because I can just block everything. Well, just about everything. And that's the main thing you want to know about the lance. Blocking. This is your best friend. See this shield? Yeah, that shield, it protects you from a lot of bad things. So you want to use it properly. Don't just hold block all the time and do a little pokey. No, you don't want to do that. You want to use it offensively and of course defensively, because it can do a lot of things. You can have the shield engage, you can have the shield counter, and you can just have the shield block pretty much anything from a big attack at the cost of stamina. So we're going to learn everything about this weapon. Okay, you do see PlayStation controls, and I do apologize for that because I'm more comfortable on the controller, even though I do play on PC. But as you can see, all the controls are pretty much the same, and hopefully they make sense in your preferred peripheral. Let's start out with the basics. The lance has two attacks that you can chain between. Pretty much any type of attack can be chained. You have your mid thrust and high thrust, which is triangle and circle. You saw how I just continued doing a new chain of attacks, and it didn't reset my combo string. So that means I can chain a mid thrust 1 to a high thrust 2 and continue. So let's say high thrust 1, mid thrust 2, high thrust, and mid thrust 3. It's that good. Now, of course, for your continuous damage, you want to focus on mid thrust. It's the one that does the fastest damage string. And unlike Worlds, you don't need to do a little hop after you're done your combo string. So let's have a look right here. We're going to do the mid thrust, and I can continue doing another set of mid thrust without needing to do a little hop after our combo string. So that's pretty good. And you have so many different ways to combo your attacks. So let's say I want to do mid thrust, and do a very strong high thrust charge counter. You can do that. It's that good. Not only that, I can combo with a wide sweep right into my combo string. And on top of that, I can continue that combo string to a higher tier mid thrust. So, boom. The triple thrust, which is the final combo string. See how smooth the lance feels in Wilds. Now the lance has so many different ways to engage your enemy, and that can tie into your guarding. Right there. See that beautiful block? Yes. So before we get to the engages, let's talk about the different types of guards. You have your basic guard, which is just holding down the guard button. And with this guard button, you can do your little pokey right here, which does not the best damage, but it's some good damage if you want to be, a little sneaky with your attacks. And it's definitely better in Wilds than it was in World. And then you also have your guard counter to counter any incoming monster attacks. However, you don't necessarily have to release it quite early. So again, with the guard counter, you have 3 stages of your guard counter. Your quick guard counter, which you'll see yourself glowing white, will deal around 137 damage, as you can see. But then if you hold it down a bit longer, you glow orange. You get a bit extra damage right there. And if you hold it down even longer till you get the red charge, boom, big damage. Just like that. So you have 3 different stages that you can use. But you don't necessarily have to stay in the guard counter form for such a long period, because you're not doing anything there. And it feels like it's a waste of time. Unless you're a bit scared of the monster's attacks, sure. And you're quite close to the monster, and you can release it after you get that red juice. Aside from the guard counter that you can get from holding down guard and circle, you have your power guard. Now, power guard is achieved from doing a guard counter, followed up with your dash button, and this is your power guard. This guard is your strongest guard, but it does drain stamina over time, so pay attention. With this card, you can pretty much tank almost anything. So let's say you're in a bad position and a monster is doing a giga nuke, like let's say Arkveld's big explosion attack or even Ray Dow's lightning burst from above. You can completely block that and not die. That's the best thing about your power guard. But remember, it does drain your stamina, so use it sparingly. And use it when you actually need to use it. Let's say if you're fighting Arkfeld and he's doing his weird spinny flying attack and you don't know where he's coming from, just power guard. You're gonna block something. And if he doesn't hit you, well, hey, he didn't hit you. And you also have this other attack while you're doing your power guard. So again, holding down the guard button, going into your counter. This is holding down the circle. And then activating your dash will give you the power guard. And then you can get that retribution thrust, which is a huge attack. That's if you get hit, because it kind of charges up when you do take damage as you're guarding. And you do this really strong thrusting attack. But here's another thing. If you do want to learn all of these moves bit by bit, and if you want to practice them, you can always go to your escape or pressing start. And you can come to the third tab right here, player guide, and you go to your weapon controls. This will give you a list of all the controls for your weapon. And when you enter this window, you can see all the different attacks, like the guard dash, like your charge counter going into power guard, and so on and so forth. These little things can help you understand your lance a bit better. Again, these are the basic fundamentals of the weapons. Every weapon has so much texture, nuance to them. And hopefully I'm demonstrating as much as I can within this video. Speaking about guards, you can also get a guard from engages. So the lance has 4 types of engages. You have your little, little hop right there. This can also be used to disengage or reposition yourself. Then you also have your guard dash. This guard dash allows you to move forward, and it's a guard because your shield is right in front of you. And on top of this guard dash, you can follow up with an attack. So as you guard dash, you can follow up with a leaping thrust. Just like that. And then you also have your standalone leaping thrust, holding down the triangle and circle button. But I'll say it's not the best one to engage because it doesn't take you that far. Combo it with a guard dash because it takes you further and it gives you some blocking in between. And of course, one of the best engages in the game, the dash attack. Look at that. Oh, I'm about to hit the wall. Do a 180. The monster just turned. Let me just sidestep. Another 180. And you can finish it up with either your mid thrust or your high thrust, which is called the finishing twin thrust. So yeah, and if a monster is down and you just want some free damage in there, you can just ram into him. And your damage just goes up and up and up and up. And finish it up with a twin thrust. Just like that. It's a very satisfying attack. So those are your types of engages on the lance. And with your dash attack, it allows you to climb surfaces. So let's say a monster is here and there's a wall there. You can just dash attack onto that wall. And then boom! Right on top of him. And the dash attack is very good to mount monsters. So as you're dashing into the monster, you can jump and mount the monster just like that, if you can mount the monster at that time. Also, when you're charging, you can cancel this charge whenever you want by either attacking with your finishing twin thrust or canceling it with a block. I highly suggest canceling it with a guard if a monster is, of course, doing an attack and you want to be safe. So let's say this guy's going to attack, immediately guard, and you can follow up with your attacks. Now, going back to the chaining attacks, you have 2 types of triangle and circle attacks when you're not dashing. There's your leaping thrust and your wipe sweep. And again, you can chain these into pretty much anything. So let's say I'm doing high thrust. I can chain it with a triple thrust. Let's do high thrust again. Wide sweep. And then big damage. So this is the best thing about Lance and Wilds. You could just chain everything together and it feels so good. And now that you know that, let's take a look at our focus strike. It's a shield bash. That's pretty much it. And then it follows up with even more damage. So let's create a wound right here. We got a wound. Boom. This is very nice. It's also somewhat of an engager. But here's the thing. That little chain of attacks doesn't necessarily always hit every time, which is unfortunate. Because the monster unfortunately got knocked down as you were doing your focus strike and you miss all of that damage. Even if you use your aiming to redirect your attacks, it can be an unfortunate situation. Can't do anything about it. Here's a tip for Lance. When you start your fight, you don't necessarily have to use your attack button. You can immediately unsheath your weapon by blocking. And it's a lot safer. Because let's say you're just joining a fight, your friend is out there killing and the monster is doing an attack. Oh crap, just immediately block or block counter. It's going to be a lot safer than coming in, thrust blazing. That was cringe. I know, I'm sorry. Now looking at what I'm running on my Lance build, as you can see my weapon is the Arcveld Lance right there, running the Dragon element. This is the rarity 8, so it comes with pretty decent raw, fortunately no affinity, and the Dragon element, and that juicy white sharpness. It has a 3, 2, and 1 slot for your jewels. I have offensive guard, guard, and guard up. These are my weapon skills. Unfortunately, you cannot have these on your armor. Now, the Arcveld weapon itself comes with the guard skill. So, guard reduces the knockback and stamina depletion when you guard. Pretty nice to have for any type of blocking type of weapon. Guard up, this comes from the shield jewel. This reduces the amount of damage that you will take from unblockable attacks. And offensive guard gives you that bonus attack percentage when you do that perfectly timed guard. This is easily achieved when you do your guard counters. Even if you don't do it on the perfect time, as long as you do a guard counter, you still get the offensive guard proccing. And now for additional damage, I do have Agitator. This comes from the Challenger Charm, a Challenger Jewel on my headpiece, and the Dahad Legs. The Dahad Legs give you Agitator 2. Now the level 3 Challenger Jewel only gives you 1 point into the Agitator skill. Man, they nerfed it hard. And the Challenger Charm only goes up to level 2. So you need to have at least the Dahad Legs to give you Agitator 2, the Charm for Agitator 2, and then your Challenger Jewel. If you don't need Agitator, you can always go for other setups. For any like super long experienced Lance Monster Hunter players who feel like I could change this up to make it a bit better, please do leave it down in the comments. Because this is what I've been running and I've been doing decently well with it. Shockproof, if you're playing with teammates, you can swap this out to anything you want. And if you're playing solo, you can run more defenses, medicine, recovery speed, whatever you want. And I've been playing the game like crazy, hunting every single monster I can see. I just really love this game. And I can't wait to see further updates. And if this video does well, I might go over my other favorite weapon, the Charge Blade. This weapon is one of the coolest weapons I've ever seen in any video game. That has been it for me. I do hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please feel free to leave a like, share, and subscribe. For more content, streams, and so much more, do refer to the description. Thanks for watching, and as always, a peace. Bye-bye now. Bye.